So, Christmas Vacation is what we are going to talk about. As usual, I watched it again, and as usually happens, my opinion then improves because the things that jarred me or didn't make sense, now I accept them. Yes, Lacey.
Is it also because of the things that I say on the first day that we record?
Yes, all your great points. I don't know, probably.
Yeah, okay, good. No, it is.
I love how much you love it. I want to be with you.
Yeah.
I would love to watch this movie every year.
Okay.
It did occur to me, I think that movies like A Christmas Story also have this, where it's vignette and there's a sort of like looseness to it that if you're just watching it on TNT or whatever, you come in and you're like, oh, it's this sequence. Okay, yes.
And that's exactly what I think of this movie as one I can catch at any point in it and I jump right in. There's lots of times for commercial break.
Yes, and you can like fall asleep from champagne for a little while and wake back up and you're like, oh yeah, Uncle Louis, yeah.
Louis?
Uncle Louis.
Oh, okay. Wow, you picked like the only name I didn't immediately recognize.
My reservations about it still hold, and I think that watching it in sequence with the other vacation movies kind of, there's too much cognitive dissonance. You're like, this is not the same character. This is not the same family. The movie opens with opening credits that are animated. Lacey loves this in a movie.
No, don't.
No, you don't like it?
No.
You don't like
You do.
Do you like these? Yeah, but you've seemed like you pick a lot of movies that have this.
That is an
So
accent.
you don't like the animated opening?
It's neither here nor there, and I also think it looks like a PowerPoint. It looks like shit animation from here.
It looks like shit. Well, this is a grid of a bunch of screenshots.
I know, but when you have it gridded like this, it looks like a freaking PowerPoint.
This is the animation is by Bill Croyer. He was the person who directed Ferngully. I think that's his only feature credit.
I do like Ferngully.
There's this invaluable resource I found, artofthetitle.com, that is all about opening credits, title sequences in movies, and they talked to Bill Croyer in 2013 about the opening to National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. And we'll put a link in the description and everything. Go read that interview. But this guy, this was his third movie in 1989 that also had animated titles. Honey, I Shrunk the Kids is another one. And then
one of my movies.
A movie called Troop Beverly Hills that I've never heard of.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I think it's very charming. It's very distinctively a mixture of 2D and computer animation, very early computer animation. Mm-hmm. The reindeer and the snowman that falls are very obviously computer animated. Bill Croyer talks in the interview about how they debated for a long time whether they could show Santa Claus's butt crack or not. They were worried that the studio would make them delete it. And finally, they're like, I don't know, just put it in there and see if they say anything. And nobody ever mentioned it. So it's in the final product.
It seems canonical that Santa should have a plumber's butt.
Yeah,
he's bending over under a tree all the time.
Yeah, they basically said as much in the interview. It's like, I mean, what you're going to show his butt crack?
Right. I mean, he's not going to have perfectly elastic pants that just don't show that ample crackage.
And then the song is called Christmas Vacation. It's by Barry Mann and Cynthia Weil, performed by Mavis Staples.
Was it made for the movie?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I love that.
But
It's my favorite Christmas song.
I was thinking is because Lindsey Buckingham from Fleetwood Mac did the vacation song from the other two movies, or no, Holiday. What is it?
Family Vacation?
Vacation. We're going on
I can't remember.
Holiday. Oh. Yeah, so I was thinking, is this another song? Nope, different.
You can tell that. Oh, come on, Matt. All right.
So we meet the Griswolds. They're in a car. I think it's the opening or the introduction to them driving in the car is very much like a movie saying, "Don't worry, folks. These folks they still go in a car.
They still have a car, and they're still manic and feisty."
And they're singing songs and stuff. This specific tone is very much like the earlier vacation movies.
Right.
And I wrote in my notes, I'm glad I watched the first two movies, but this is pretty much the only time in the movie where it feels like the earlier movies.
I think any of the time they put Clark in danger, it starts to feel like the old movies. There's so like the sledding part.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. I mean, and anytime him and Eddie are together, except for the store part when they're walking through the store. That's
the other thing that I really appreciated more this time around is the chemistry between Eddie and Clark, between Randy Quaid and Chevy Chase.
Do you think it's because they're the same height? I've got something about that. They do seem to genuinely respect each other, if not like. I'm always trying to pick up the vibes now. Beverly D'Angelo, I could tell for sure they got along. Mm-hmm. But anyone else, I would guess he respects Murray. I can't think of his first two names.
Chevy Chase.
He's a man with two first names.
Brian Doyle Murray.
Yes. Just because he's like an established.
And he was a writer. He wrote Caddyshack or co-wrote Caddyshack. Yeah.
Okay. So
co-wrote on Saturday Night Live.
And there's a certain kind of established comedian that I could see him liking, respecting, and then being willing to be a little bit more pliable in a scene with.
Yeah, I think so. But but watching it again, the thing that didn't improve for me is the parents, the grandparents. I feel like all of them are so inessential. I don't remember anything that any of them do.
Oh yeah, I mean, I would agree in a sense, but they're meant to be chaos. It's the same as all the family in Home Alone. Of course, you remember the mean uncle. Look what you did, you little jerk. But the rest of the people that are there, the aunts, the cousins, they all have one-liners. But you're not supposed to care about any of them. Remember, it's just supposed to fill the house.
Yes, but I think you said that you can tell that the way that they interact with their kids like shows you why like Clark and Ellen are the way they are.
I didn't mean that it was a complete Rosetta Stone for it. I just do. I do think it's supposed to give you clues. They selected a very specific dynamic for the way the kids interact with their parents, not little kids, the adult kids interact with their parents, and the way the two sets of parents interact with each other, and the way they interact with their daughter-in-law and son-in-law. And I think all of that is to help you understand that Clark's fuck-ups are understood and are assumed. Mm-hmm. And if you've known him since he was a child, it's part of what makes you love him. And if you've married into it,
it's why you hate him.
Because you can't brag about this guy. You can't just bring over some random friend and be like, look, my daughter married up. Look at this prize pony. He'll probably, burn a cat alive or something. Something will happen. Even if he doesn't create the chaos, it follows him.
He's always falling down off ladders and stuff.
There's something about Ellen's parents that let me know they are about status. They are about appearances.
But they should love this guy then. He makes a lot of money at the additives company.
If you can't show it off, it's like a grandchild that lives in a different state. What the fuck good is it? If I can't cart it around, show it off, invite people to things he's hosting, it's going to be a shit show.
No, he's big and tall and handsome and he makes a lot of money.
And he constantly has chaos. He constantly screws up. That's
people
what I'm saying.
Will forgive that for handsome.
No. Not this mom. This mom cannot risk it. Her status is hanging on by a thread. Hence, she waxes her lip. She still colors her hair. She wears a full face of makeup, even at night. These are all supposed to let you know why Clark's not good enough for her daughter.
Okay, I'll watch it a third time. So the kids are in the car now. They're recast. Johnny Galecki is now little Russ. He's 4 years younger than the actor who played him in the last movie. Mm-hmm. And that's fine. There doesn't have to be like perfect continuity between the movies. Plus you can always say like, well, this one takes place before European Vacation.
Sure.
It's like the Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom of the Vacation series. Except that in the last movie, but if this is supposed to take place afterward, I mean, Johnny Galecki's playing him like he's a little kid or like a, 9 to 12-year-old. And in the last movie, he's like having sex with Bavarian beer wenches and stuff.
Sure. I will try to think of it between now and the end of this podcast, but there's another example of a show or a movie that replaces the two of the people or one of the people every time for continuity because it happened maybe unintentionally the first time. And so then you just kind of go with it and that is in a weird way, making it more like the one that came before than keeping one or two of the actors. Do you see what I'm saying?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what you might be talking about. So Russ, he basically says a line from a sitcom. He's like, so what are we doing again? And Clark's like, well, I told you, son, we're driving to the tree lot. And
he does not say that.
Okay, but I'm summarizing. But
it's very importantly not a tree lot. He's driving in the middle of fucking nowhere.
The tree forest, the forest of trees.
The forest.
They get into some road antics. They get caught underneath an 18-wheeler. And I like that Audrey, the daughter, they should be freaking out about nearly being about to die, but she's like, guys, stop fighting. Because that's how I would be in a crisis too. Don't yell at me.
Did you look into how they got that? I mean, that's clearly really a car doing that, going under the log truck.
I didn't look into how they did the stunt.
Okay. I'm sure it's just on like a, one of these.
Yeah, one of those.
Some sort of T. Some sort of track.
You don't even need to say the words. I know what you're saying.
You got it? Car track, a car parallel track.
So they go into the forest because Clark, his thing, I guess his deal in this movie is he has an idea of what Christmas should be, probably informed by TV and like kind of false memories of his own life. And he's like, this is what we do. We get together, we sing Christmas carols, and we drink hot chocolate, and we get back to our Yuletide roots like in ancient Germany, and we cut down trees in the woods. But he's like butting up against the reality that other people exist and they have their own wants and needs. I guess that's his story. It's not that. Like, where does he start and where does he end?
Are you asking me?
Yes.
Because I disagree.
Okay.
You're absolutely right that he's definitely pulling this out of like Norman Rockwell postcards or whatever, magazine covers and TV. And he's got a script and some idea of something he's never had, not something he's ever had. He even says it. He's never had a family Christmas. They don't.
Yeah.
That is a little strange to me because his parents seem easy to get along with. So I'm not sure why they wouldn't have had that. He doesn't seem to have any siblings. He's an only child. So maybe that's it. He just didn't have a big family to have the big Christmas. So, I mean, I don't think he's doing something he thinks he's already done.
Sorry. I meant to say like he's remembering like idealized versions of his own Christmases as a youth that didn't actually happen the way they did. But it could be a very easy thing because his dad has a heart to heart with him later. And he's like, Dad, all our Christmases were so chaotic when I was young. But it's like so clear. It's like, okay, I'm trying to create the Christmas that I was never able to get.
Yeah.
And his dad should be like, no, you just need to be exactly who you are. But he's like, son, you keep fucking up.
No, I think that is a perfect conversation he has with his dad. Because he says the kids are not ever going to remember all these things you think are important. They are going to remember that you were mean. So just try not to be mean. I think he gives really good. I love that talk.
I like it too. I just think that this sort of emotional through line could be simpler and more clear.
I think Clark is making the mistake. He seems a little too old to be making it for the first time. But this idea of like, my parents made this look really hard. It's not. You just get the family over. You have a wonderful, amazing time with memories. He also seems to be a person still climbing the corporate ladder. He probably isn't his home as much as he wants. He probably isn't making these little milestone things with his family like he'd like to. So he's just trying to make an impact with everything he does get to do outside of work. Let me at least scar them.
What you just said is the motivation of the first vacation movie is I don't get to see the kids enough. I want to make lasting memories with them on this vacation. And that manic drive is what ruins everything.
And same here. I think that is his through line. He's a quality time guy, not a quantity time. Although his insane need to make it count ruins it.
But everything seems fine. Like I'm so sorry. You're all doing great. Your kids like you enough and your wife likes you and your house is nice and don't buy a pool, man.
Don't buy a pool, man. Enjoy that yard.
This movie, I think another thing that I don't want to nitpick so much.
We're only on the opening scene.
I know. The first two movies had such great location photography.
Okay.
They were travel movies, so you really get to film in Paris and Rome and stuff. And
I love the Big Ben roundabout one. Yeah, that's a classic. Big Ben.
This movie's largely just in a house, which is just a set. But they do film some outdoor stuff in Colorado, including right here, and it looks pretty great.
I love the whole time they're in the house. It looks like the coziest house. I never feel claustrophobic. But you're comparing them apples to apples. All of my notes are just, I love this movie in all caps.
And you know who else you love is the Chesters. Can you tell me about the Chesters?
This is who I was yearning for whenever we were watching Jingle All the Way, is neighbor relationships that seem so much more believable. And then while I'm watching it, I'm like, okay, I guess it's not perfect realism. It's a little too involved, But I've never had like an ongoing, like a pissing match with a neighbor. I know that happens. I see it in shows and movies all the time. And I guess a certain kind of personality, when you're stuck next to a person, you're going to piss them off and then it's just forever. But these neighbors seem to love to hate each other. They equal. Clark and them both seem to like talking shit.
Which I think like is kind of out of character for Clark. I would think he'd be like, we're great neighbors. They love me. But the only interaction he has with them is to tell them to go fuck themselves.
I think he's already decided they're not his kind of people. You look inside their house. They are metropolitan people. The biggest thing that takes me away from them, although I think they're flawless and amazing characters, is they don't seem like they'd live here. They seem like they'd live in the city.
Well, this is your classic yuppie thing. Like they had to move out to the suburbs, or they moved out to the suburbs because now they make too much money. But they're like, we're above this whole suburbs thing, which is why they later in the movie they say,
Aren't
of
you
course
just
we
the
didn't.
teensiest bit sad that we didn't get a tree? I know it's corny.
It's cliche. Yeah.
And they're drinking umbrella drinks. Like they're eating like tropical food. Like,
yeah.
They're too cool for their own good.
Margot and Todd are their names. Julia Louis-Dreyfuss.
If I had
great
twins.
Julia Louis-Dreyfuss.
Fuck, she's good in everything.
And Nicholas Guest. And
where do we know him from? He's great in this.
I looked it up and I could not find the smoking gun answer to how does Lacey know this guy?
It's just 80s guy in my head, 80s, 90s.
But Julia Louis-Dreyfuss, you will remember her from Seinfeld.
Oh, thank
Yes,
you. And one of my favorite shows, Veep. I do kind of remember her.
Which started this very year of 1989.
Well, can we just say that Julia Louis-Dreyfuss is my... If there was a female that could play me in something, it would be her. But
because usually
it's a gay man that we
would play
that
Lacey.
we think are the best,
but it's
most analogous to my sensibilities.
Yeah,
and
Julia
charm.
Louis-Dreyfuss, JLD, but from Veep, not necessarily as Elaine.
I don't know. I kind of. Oh yeah, not Elaine. No, that's weird though. Her most famous role is the one I don't relate to at all. She drives me crazy as Elaine in the best way.
You are a Selena Myers. You're pissed off and angry and yelling at everybody and cursing constantly.
And I also relate to this character. I mean, I know she's a tool, but I just love her responses and reactions to everything. Except for when she gets all like, I'm going to fight people. I don't need the punch at the end, but it's fine.
You punch me all the time.
But not when I'm mad at you, only when I'm happy at you.
Clark wants to fill this house with people.
So they're in bed. This is one of my favorite more... I guess it's slapsticky. They're talking, but the conversation, I kind of always forget what it's about. It's just him convincing his wife that we're going to do the thing I want to do because it's really important to me. Look at my little boy pajamas. Let me have my thingies. But all I care about the whole time is that his full tree, little sap, this sap thing.
He still has sap on his fingers.
And then he sticks to everything, and then he even is so sticky, he pulls a lamp, and then he fucks her hair up, and I just
they're both so great in this scene because they're not acknowledging that he's sticking to everything. They're totally underplaying it. They're so good together.
Mm-hmm. The bed looks
because they the giant tree that they brought home from the woods, wrecked their. Well, wait, it didn't go into their living room yet, did it?
Yeah, and it went through the windows when he
and into the neighbor's house. So that's like the first way that they fuck up their neighbor's house. It did not go into
the neighbor's house. It never goes into the neighbor's house.
Yes, okay,
a tree goes into the neighbor's house that he cuts down after that tree catches on fire and he needs a new one. He then goes and cuts a tree down from his yard, and when it falls into their house. This tree never goes into that house.
Okay. All right, I will track the tree.
It goes
when
through
I watch the third
It goes
time.
through their own window when it expands. It doesn't expand so much that it's in the neighbor's window.
Okay.
The first way he fucks up their house is when he is putting up his decorations and he falls, and to catch himself, he grabs his own shutter, and there's just a solid piece of water that's frozen because if it's settled there, and it shoots and it creates the classic scene. Well, then why is the carpet over it, Todd? I don't know, Mark. I had to say it. All right, go.
What I like about Todd and Margot is that they're living their own Christmas movie. Yeah. That is where they are being tormented by Clark Griswold, and I like that Clark is totally oblivious to it, and he never finds out that he's been tormenting them the whole time.
That's true.
Because she goes over there to sock him in the face, and a squirrel attacks her, so he never finds out that he's been ruining other people's lives.
And I think in the case of them, he doesn't care at all. I mean, he had to know the tree went through their fucking window, right? He just pretends they're not there.
Yeah. So this is where Ellen says, like, by the way, my mom called today and they're going to be staying for Christmas too. And I wrote down, Ellen, you need to say that news right away. That is not something you save.
Also, the big Christmas was just going to be his parents.
Yeah.
And no Eddie. And it only becomes big because of unexpected guests.
Uh-huh. Right. But again, you cannot just casually drop later, by the way, both of our parents will be staying in this house at the same time.
The most important thing to note, and maybe I've noticed this before, but it really stood out, is it is December 14th. And people are coming. They have people over for 10 days and nights.
When do they arrive? They arrive on December 14th?
They decide on the 14th, yeah. Or that's the next time you see the advent calendar is the 14th, and they've already gotten there.
Yeah, because they're doing an advent calendar as interstitials to like show you where you are on the timeline. But yeah, she's worried. She's worried everybody's going to fight. And Clark is like, but Christmas is a time where everyone comes together and puts aside their petty differences.
At the end of the movie, just in time for the credit.
And Ellen's like, he's being an idiot again, but right. That's my Sparky. Because, you know, my life lesson for all of you is life is about calibrating your expectations. It's about accepting people for where they are rather than where you wish they were. Is
that Beverly doing that? You're saying Beverly's doing that?
I think she's probably tried to do this for 15 years and has given up on it. Has tried to be like...
Tried to meet him where he is?
No. That Clark, you need to understand that other people have their own things, are going to be a certain way. And instead of like wishing they were different and acting as if they were different, you need to act how they actually are. Which is, they're going to fight. There's going to be drama. There's going to be chaos.
It just doesn't bother him like it bothers her. And he avoids it. He finds a lot of different reasons to not even have to deal with it. He just wants the thing. He doesn't want the responsibility.
That's a good point. Because every time he's constantly like going outside to work and then he's like, oh, I'm staying out here till that blows over. And I kept thinking like, but you wanted this.
He wants the memory. He wants to say he had it. He is a bit of a sociopath. I know he cares about his wife, but he doesn't care about anyone as much as he cares about himself. I don't know if it's unintentional, but he does not engage with anyone's fighting. Mm-hmm. If it has nothing to do with him, he just it doesn't register as something he has to handle at all.
You're right. Yeah. He has like
he has his own, he's in his own movie. If I ever wanted to see the other version of this movie, I'd want to see it from Ellen's perspective.
Yeah. Of course it's not miserable for you because you go outside the whole time.
And it doesn't bother you. Like the chemistry and the politics of this family. I mean, Russ and Audrey are not going to go to their dad and say, can I please sleep in my bed? Can I please do this? Can I do this for school later? Or like none of that troubleshooting stuff goes to dad.
He would just say a cliche to them.
Sure. The complaints get filed with Ellen. That is where they go. And anyone in the house who's having a hard time is going to go to her. So
she says, you set standards that no family event can live up to. And he's like, well, when have I ever done that? And she starts naming things. And in the middle is holidays, vacations. I really like that this movie is not beholden to the previous movies. It's not like she's like, hello, our trip to Wally World and also our European vacation.
Sure.
I like that it's not so reverent about what's come before. Yeah. We go over to him, follow him at work. Finally.
Now we see the. I think this is a very realistic portrayal of corporate guy, and it's the most perfect thing to kind of fulfill your ongoing joke of saying that people need to go make their widgets. He is a food additive food enhancer. He has the most made up job. It might be a real one, but it's not supposed to sound serious.
This is what I'm basically talking about.
I know
when
that.
I say that, yeah.
And that is why I wrote it down. I was like, this movie just did it. But they use the office just enough to show and it's completely relatable, the stress of overextending yourself during the holidays to make this grand gesture, to make this one moment, this reveal of we're getting a pool, or look, I got you a car, or like these slightly impulsive things we do, and we write the check before we know it's going to cash, figuratively and literally sometimes. And he's banking on a $7,500 bonus, which I hope you did the math for because I want to know how much that actually is.
It's $18,000.
That's a nice little bonus. And I think Mr. Murray, who I can never remember his first two, fucking something Doyle.
Brian Doyle.
Brian Doyle Murray. I think he's very funny. He's a little over the top, not believable, asshole bossish, but it works great. I don't know. And I know this is random, but I always like Sam McMurray too. This actor that's his friend. I don't know why. I just like, he's nice.
He's always he's a welcome addition. We last met him in Addams Family Values. Every time he pops up, he's the villain, the evil girl at camp. He's her father.
Oh, yep. He's always schwarmy New York guy. I love it.
Okay.
Schwarmy is a word we say a lot.
It's
in the
a word
last 3
you
episodes.
say. It's a made up word.
Are you sure?
Shawarma.
And swarmy.
Smarmy.
Like Hermione.
Yes.
Smarmy.
Just ask yourself, who's the character from Harry Potter who has big teeth? Hermione.
That's a mean thing to say.
J.K. Rowling made that up. I didn't. It's a big detail every time she's mentioned.
We don't talk about JKR in this fucking house.
I have this other issue with this movie is like the financial precarity is just so unbelievable. It's the first episode of The Simpsons, which also came out in 1989, had Homer not getting his Christmas bonus, and it ruins Christmas because they rely on it. This is, I'm getting a luxury. I'm getting us a pool.
He already wrote the check, though.
So cancel the check. Who cares? But it's not like we're not going to be able to pay our bills. We're not going to be able to buy presents.
Yeah, but like he's only going to be stressed over his rich people problems.
Yes, I know.
So he's having a rich people
so
problem.
So it's hard to okay, but it's hard to really sympathize with the plight of Clark Griswold. It's just like you weren't going to be able to afford this luxury that you didn't even need.
I don't think you're supposed to totally
make it more about. I know everybody was rich in the 80s, and if it was today, it's like, oh, we're not getting our Christmas bonus. Our electricity's going to get cut off. Our kids aren't going to get their toys. That's all I'm saying. The Christmas bonus thing comes directly from John Hughes's story.
Fine, but he is supposed to be well off. They are supposed to be, Home Alone level, I assume. He's still not great with his money, but that's because he allows these like grand ideas of what his house could become, what his family could become, what a trip could become, and he already has a pool in his brain, which they illustrate well with that scene. So it is a problem to him, and he did make a financial bad decision, and he probably would have put them in some stress if the Christmas bonus never came.
So it's Christmas time in Chicago. Chris Columbus in the Chicago magazine Home Alone Oral History said that he shot some second unit stuff, the downtown Chicago scenes, and they're at this point in the movie, and that's why this looks like Home Alone 2, like Christmasgasm. I just want to go there.
Oh my God. I even wrote, I was like, do a side-by-side of the quick montage of exchanging cash and running the manual credit card machine. It's in Home Alone 2 and it's in this movie. It could have been the same one.
Yeah, he might have.
I was worried I wouldn't find it. No, there is a difference though. In the one in Home Alone, it's big giant cash registers because they're at the toy store. Mm-hmm. But that same hand exchange commercialism, but it looks so fucking good. That makes sense. It felt very Home Alone. I wrote it down.
So Clark is in this department store and he starts flirting with the hot sales clerk.
Is she hot?
She's hot. But she's coded as hot. And also she actually is hot. I think of her as like the female Andrew McCarthy is what I'm saying.
Fine. I'll allow it.
But this is this horn dog philanderer aspect of his character. Just get it out of here. It's like I'm supposed to like him and this makes me think he's evil.
You're absolutely correct. This just was much more like a gag and funny and okay. Then I assume you're still supposed to think he's a sleazeball. He's still ashamed of it. But yeah, I don't need it.
So one easy fix, have a scene with Beverly D'Angelo flirting with a hot guy. And there you go.
Right.
Oh, they both do it. Okay, it's a thing. They understand. we get horny for other people, but ultimately we come back to each other. But he's stammering and he's like, oh, I want to eat your pussy. I mean, eat your purses. I mean, what did I say?
That is log. You'll log. I mean, I don't have a log.
And he even says like, I'm not married. So he's like actively trying to have sex with her.
Yes. Seems he's seeing what might happen.
But she flirts back and she like pulls her ass out and she's like, look at this. And then Russ shows up and he's like, what you doing, Dad? He's like, oh, nothing, Russ. I'm just looking at this ass. Looking at this ass. And that's this scene.
It's more of a vagina than it's an ass. But all right.
This right here that we're looking at.
I can see a lot more front than I can
Okay,
back.
but her hand is more toward her butt.
Fine, but she's showing off her hip.
Would this be something that a woman would actually show in a store,
No,
Lacey? Okay.
no, fucking never.
I'm no expert.
You need to go to Mervin's with me. So if you want to see the real wild side.
To Mervin's? To
Mervin's
Merv's?
has an
presentist. Yeah.
In a couple decades.
But it's all saved because she ends it with like, he says, 'tis the season to be married. She's like, that's my name, Mary.
That's my name.
And he just goes, oh, no shit. It's the greatest delivery. I'm just like, oh, okay, I like you again.
Mm-hmm, I know.
Mary is played by Nicolette Scorsese. Which made me do a double take.
I looked it up as well because I'm like, this is a random person in this role. This has to be a favor. Is it?
She's no relation.
It's still a favor.
Those are the two sets of parents arrive. But it's weird the way it's set up. Each of the four main Griswolds are like doing their own thing. One kid's watching TV, one's like doing her hair, and the doorbell rings, and each one is like, the doorbell is ringing. How very queer. And but then the parents are all sitting there and then they happily greet them. I don't know. It's a little weird. And then also the filmmaking, suddenly it becomes like handheld, wobbly, shaky cam. And it's like a horror movie, which it is.
It's supposed to be. That's why it was set up this way. They're all living their lives perfectly pleasant. This could be the Christmas we could have. This could just be it. Russ is doing what he wants to do. Arjie's perfectly content. Mom is cooking. Dad's doing fucking whatever it is he wants to do. And all of a sudden, them being there is like, it begins.
In reality,
Fuck.
If people are coming over like to our house for like an hour, we're like panicking and
we're
cleaning and screaming at each other.
We're the
till
Home
the
Alone
second
scene.
there, yeah.
I
Nobody's just casually like, just writing out my letters.
Like, they can't know we live like this?
Yeah.
Fuck.
It's unrealistic.
Light a candle. All of them.
John Randolph is Clark Sr., Diane Ladd is Nora. We also have Doris Roberts from Everybody Loves Raymond as Frances and E.G. Marshall as Art. I mean, they're all fine, but I can't think of a single interesting or funny thing that any of them does. Except for I like the nice, sweet heart-to-heart with Clark's dad at the end. And then, the parents come in, it's a horror movie. They're all talking about their boils and their abscesses and stuff and how much they have to shit and how much they can't shit. And then the two fathers are fighting about a parking spot, which comes directly from the John Hughes story.
All right. Also, just was very confusing because it's a driveway.
Yeah.
Just fucking park.
That's like one of those things. I guess you had to take it from your story.
I guess you had to. But they had to be fighting over something, and it had to have happened in the time it takes to get out of your car and get to the door. It's not like they came together.
Also, they're already parked.
They just have... Right. And so clearly one of the dads took the more convenient
the primo spot.
Yeah. I mean, old people...
How much more convenient can any of them be?
When you get to a certain age, everyone leaves their driveway open for your car. Mm-hmm. Like, oh no, that's Mima and Peepaw's spot. Don't park there. And so you start to... Once you start parking in the handicap spot, you get mad when someone takes the only one.
I got you. You're more in touch with the old people and their preferences.
Well, all you have to do is think about how bodies age, man. Okay? They both have bad butts and backs and hips and
it's going to get
nuts.
worse than this. Mm-hmm. So that's the parents. And then we start decorating.
Which stresses me the fuck out. As a person who buys new Christmas lights every single year just so I don't have to unravel them. Plus, they're so cheaply made now that they almost never they don't light up the second year. And that is something I noticed over and over in this movie. The heavy duty nature of both the kinds of lights he has and the very unsafe but very of that time extension cords. The ones that have the end piece that's a perfect circle and it seems too big to be supported by the wiry body of it. It all feels like a fire hazard. It it's a good gag that oh, little knot. And it's just the biggest freaking ball of lights. And he hands it to his son. But then he goes up the ladder. With what, Clark? You have no lights, sir.
I think you made everything suddenly make sense to me. No plan. I'm out here.
I'm doing
the
outside
parents
stuff.
are inside.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Nope. I just got to be on this roof.
I'm going up and down this ladder for the next 14 hours.
It is exactly what I did at Sears. I just found an empty box and I walked around with it.
You worked at Sears?
I did for like a month, and it was such a bad fit. But that we had this kind of vibe where you don't just stand around, which I never had a job where I stood around anyway. But like literally, there's so much inventory because it's the hardware section that I worked in. And a hardware store is full of tiny things that are always out, and you have to replace them. And they're all tiny and all heavy. And so you're constantly stocking the shelves. It's all you do. But at a certain point, I'm just like, I just need a box with stuff in it and walk. And that's all I got to do.
But then once you get a grown-up job, we're just doing that too. I mean, not you and me because we work for ourselves, but what I would do at the office is open a Word document and just type into it.
I know you did.
So you worked at Sears. That's crazy. So you're like 70 years old.
At least.
Which Sears was it?
Clearview.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know why. I don't know why of all the places I could have worked. I have no memory of why I worked there. And then I went and worked at Cafe Du Monde, or I did that before. Not Cafe Du Monde. Morning Call. But I don't. Such an interesting story, everyone. Local restaurants.
Okay, but you did like shoot powdered sugar, right? Like you would just dump the powdered sugar into
that's the first thing you do. You know how sometimes a beignet is just perfectly hollowed? Mm-hmm. Well, so in the back, so beignets are fried dough and you put powdered sugar on top.
You put the powdered sugar in the beignet.
If you go to Morning Call, the powdered sugar is already on top. If you go to Cafe Du Monde, these are the two places to get beignets in New Orleans. You go to Cafe Du Monde, you get a shaker. The shaker is clearly superior. I don't want someone telling me how much powdered sugar I need. So when you work there, you realize that sugar comes from an industrial trash can that's open. And it's always just kind of like cloudy sugar poofing up. So I open my beignet. It's basically a bread bowl at this point, and I fill it completely, pack it in with the sugar, take a bite, and it's like the cinnamon challenge. Just, it's not what you want. You think you want it, and then you put it in your mouth, and it's like Santa's ball sack. I assume is full of powdered sugar. So,
but you still did this every morning?
No, just the one.
Oh, I thought this is how you start every shift.
No, it was the first day I worked there, and I went, I've always wanted to.
Gets you right. This is where the icicle shoots into the Julia Louis-Dreyfuss.
It's not an icicle.
House, whatever.
There's a difference.
So what is this?
In the gutters, if there's water in the gutter still, when it gets to freezing temperature, then the water inside that gutter is going to freeze into the shape of a gut. It's a log of ice. It's huge. And usually your shutters aren't being swung on by an idiot, and therefore come detached from just one end, thereby creating a perfect projectile system. He could have killed them so many different times. And ladder deaths or just household accident deaths are like so numerous. And you, as soon as you get on a ladder at your own home, you're like, this is why. This is why. This is unnatural. This is so stupid. I should have a license to get on this thing.
Every ladder I've ever climbed, I'm up on it. I'm like, oh my God. And then you see somebody on that same ladder and you're like, that's nothing. That's like 4 feet off the ground.
Oh,
But then you get up there and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to die. I'm going to die.
I'm not made to be this high. I'm no druff. But I love the first fall that he has on the ladder.
It's great. He's so good at this.
It's a perfect, because I've never had that kind of ladder, but that is a very typical contractor's ladder, the kind that is one size. And then in the very rare cases where you need to be bigger, it just like unhooks and becomes twice its length. And then you rehook it. You safety latch. And it's all the way to the top and has not latched it. And then he does the perfect thing when he very violently it undoubles and he goes slamming to the ground and he's fine. But what he thinks to do is, did anybody see that? Did anyone know that I just... he realizes if anyone had seen that, they would take that ladder away from him. They all expected it, and he just proved them right, and they would take it.
Well, he's got the Buster Keaton unflappability. It's funny that he's not actually affected by all the horrible stuff that happens to him.
Right.
Combined with, I don't want them to take away my toys. So
they're going to know
if my wife comes outside and I'm like laying strewn in the bushes, I'm just gonna be like, okay, honey, I'll be right there.
Well, it's just like it hurt a little, but I still want to do the thing I'm doing. I don't. He will fall down, get bloody knees, and then pop back up and be like, "Don't anyone talk about the knees. We need to keep doing the thing I'm doing. Don't take it." Okay, so the classic struggle here, his outside struggle, literally outside, is that they can't figure out why the lights won't work. Now, if you've ever worked with lights, you plug them in and you put them up as they're plugged in. So to prove to your brain these are lit before you go attaching them to anything. But I assume this is something people used to do, use a staple gun to attach lights to a house. How do you take them off? With a staple remover?
You worry about that in January.
That's insane. The way he meticulously, every 1 inch, puts in another staple and another staple. It drives me nuts. I also don't understand how he walks on this roof once it's covered this way. But anyway, he makes the most crazy spectacle of every single inch of the house being covered in lights, and then it won't work.
Well, he gets everyone to come out. It's a ceremony.
It's a whole fucking thing.
Buddy, you got to test this out by yourself way ahead of time. So all the family gathers, and Juliette Lewis has one of her 4 lines of dialogue in the movie. She's like, "I hope nobody drives by and sees me in my jammies."
No, and by standing in the lawn, staring at the house.
I love Chevy Chase asking for a drum roll. Nobody responds, and then he just looks at his wife like, "Drum roll."
And she has a perfect drum roll noise. I can't do it.
I love this is the stuff that makes me think I love these guys. I would watch a sitcom of Chev and Bev. But the lights don't go on, and Clark's mother-in-law is like, well, he's a dumb idiot.
No, well, kids, I hope you see what a terrible use of resources this is. What fucking Disney villain would turn to children and say that? But she's drunk, and she's a jerk.
And then Clark's dad's like, well, it's okay. If you need any help, son, give me a holler. I'll be upstairs asleep.
Upstairs asleep, yeah. Typical dad vibes. He's like, I already spent a whole childhood pretending to do stuff outside. You pretend to do stuff outside now.
Yes, exactly.
I passed the Jim Beam on to you. Jim Beam.
My second bit of wisdom I will let everybody in on for the episode. This is just the thing I've learned in life is I think that this is kind of unrelated. I think that it's not good to say to somebody, let me know if you need help or can I help you?
Yeah.
I think you either just start helping.
Right.
Or if you have to offer help, you need to specifically say what you're going to do.
Right.
But you shouldn't make it somebody's problem that if they need help, they need to then go ask you for it.
Exactly. Yeah. Because they need to see that you mean it. It's empty words.
It's empty words, but it makes you feel like you've done something.
Right.
But you're also giving them more work. You're like, okay, I need you to stop what you're doing right now. You're overwhelmed and figure out how I can help you and then tell me what to do and I'll do it. No, guys, just start helping people if you want to help them or keep your trap shut.
Right. Don't steal the valor, you insensitive prick.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So now the attic scene. He does the thing that I thought all dads were born knowing to tell people is if you're walking in the attic, you have to walk on the beams, not the stuff in between the beams.
What kind of beams?
Load bearing. Well, those are not all load bearing, Matt. You idiot.
Hate when they're not.
You're not supposed to walk on the sheetrock, the roof, and he's clearly not a very handy man.
No.
Anyway, he goes up into the attic to hide his Christmas presents. This bothers the shit out of me. What's the tree for? It's a shirt box, Clark. What could you be hiding? I mean, anything could be in there. Why are you hiding a normal shape? If he takes out a present that's in his secret hiding spot and it's like, haha, this is from years ago. Crazy. Well, it's a jewelry box. And it's for Valentine's Day.
It's for Mother's Day. I love that. I love that detail.
That makes sense why you would have hidden a jewelry box. This is a shirt box. Just put it in under the fucking tree.
I guess these are Santa presents?
No, it's not. It's the underwear for Beverly. Everything is Evelyn. Fuck.
Ellen.
everything is pomp and circumstance with this guy. And it's just his extraness is frustrating and selfish. I love it. It's funny. But there's no reason for you to be in the attic. Everyone's running around getting dressed. You should be well aware that the plan for today was to do some shopping with everyone, then go to lunch. Everyone's getting dressed, using the blow dryer at the same time, trying to take the shot, trying to get in the shower. You know this, Clark. And then you go upstairs. Don't tell anyone you're going into the attic. A full attic.
Because he's living his own movie.
I know. He's blissfully unaware of anyone else's needs. He's still in pajamas. It's okay. If they knew I were in the attic because I'm hiding my secret presents, my sweet, sweet secret presents, they'd think I was a sweet little boy. And they'd say, oh, Clark, you're so sentimental. You try to make things so special. You be in the attic in a very inconvenient time and make me look for you.
This is like with Arnold Schwarzenegger and Jingle All the Way. What we need, Clark, is we need you. Be here. Be present with us.
Be cooking breakfast.
Yes.
Go sit on the farty couch.
She's having a fucking panic attack.
Go sit between the two dads, scratch their balls, scratch your balls, whatever, and watch some sports.
Watch the big game.
Please, God, please. Anyway, and he gets trapped up there, which he has an attic that locks. It doesn't make sense.
So I feel really bad for Clark when he can't get his lights to work because he doesn't know why. And he actually didn't do anything wrong for once. I mean, other than overloading the circuits, but he doesn't know about the light switch that's turning on and off the circuit.
He's lived in this house for years, Matt. I'm very mad at him the whole time. Everyone knows if you have a light switch in a certain room, that if you plug something in a specific socket, that light switch will work it. In the garage, that is a particularly specific socket. It's right by the fucking door. This man is so unaware of his surroundings that he hasn't noticed that for years he's got a light switch that does a thing. Whatever.
Yeah, that's true, but I do feel bad for him in the moment. I think his desperation is kicking all the individual reindeer. I have freakouts like this every single day. Just nothing fucking works.
I've done what he did to those reindeer in Santa to my desk many a time.
We get some exhausting like back and forth, like, oh, the lights are working. No, they're not. Oh, they're working, but you didn't see it. Oh, but no, they're not. But they figure it out.
I do like it that it's Ellen that figures it out. Anyway, why is that's very well observed. Maybe Ellen's going in there, to do the women's work, like the laundry. So she maybe knows something about switches he doesn't.
So the lights are finally on. The family all comes out to admire it. He says, Dad, you taught me everything about exterior illumination. I hope this adds to your enjoyment of the holidays. And then his father-in-law is like, well, the little lights aren't twinkling. He's like, I know, Art. Thanks for noticing.
Thanks for pointing that out.
And we get a really great reveal of now Eddie Randy Quaid arriving, because you just see it from behind. He just steps into the frame,
right,
and puts his hand on Clark's shoulder.
And I love that Clark is saying over and over in between things, Eddie's saying, Eddie? Eddie?
He's buffering. He's just making noises while he processes this.
He just had the best moment of this holiday season, followed by he's still got tears in his eyes. He's so moved by his lights coming on, and then those tears dry up cold on his face as he realizes Eddie's here.
So Eddie, Randy Quaid, Catherine is Miriam Flynn. They were in National Lampoon's Vacation. We met them before, where they had different kids. They had older kids. The older daughter was played by Jane Krakowski in the earlier movie.
And in this reality, they still do.
I know, but he's like,
I wish the older kids could have came.
He says, like, I got the older daughter in the clinic getting off the wild turkey. And I was like, I wrote down, could they not find out what their names were? So just the older one, and then the older boy.
It's intentional. It's the same way they deal with the kids that the Griswolds have.
But they didn't have Wikipedia back then, so it wasn't.
You think they literally did not know the names? Okay.
They didn't call. Eddie didn't call to say we're showing up, we're staying with you, because he wanted it to be a surprise.
Eddie is Clark, but without money.
That's true. Yeah, you're right.
The big grand gesture, the complete unawareness of how his actions affect the rest of his family.
Life lesson number 3. Write this one down. It's important. Don't surprise people. No one wants to be surprised. No one likes surprises. Nothing is better because you were surprised.
You want to know what surprise you're going to get? You're going to see how I really live. And it's not pretty.
But Ellen's dad is like, he's nice to Eddie, but not nice to Clark, I noticed. They only interact like once, but he's much warmer toward him.
I know what you're saying, but wait. But that's because he's related to Eddie. He's not related to Clark.
But he's not, I mean, this
Eddie is his blood relation.
No, his niece's husband.
Oh, right, because they're... Oh, right. Well, again, because it's not he's not ashamed of Eddie because he doesn't have to have any claim to Eddie at all. Mm-hmm. He's ashamed of Clark.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I always noticed that too. And have you got a kiss for Grandpa? Like, where did this niceness come from?
Chevy Chase said in the Rolling Stone oral history of this movie, I said earlier it was from 2019. It was actually 2014. It was the 25th anniversary of the movie. And that oral history was by Rob Ladon. So here's what Chevy Chase said about Randy Quaid. Quote, I loved working with Randy on all of the vacation movies. I never even got a hint that there was something going on emotionally or physiologically with him. He just gets right into it. When we're in the grocery store and he gets that huge 100-pound bag of dog food and slams it down, I don't think anybody wrote that. That was just Randy reaching out and grabbing it. End quote.
I love that.
Well, because like Randy Quaid is like huge conspiracy theorist.
Does he think he really went up inside that spaceship in Independence Day?
Yes, he does.
He never came back out.
Okay, so the bonus. We go back to the office. The boss, Brian Doyle Murray, who's very funny, is like Chevy Chase is checking in with him. Just checking, oh, hey, boss, here's a present. And
do you like the present gag? It's brilliant. Do you like the present gag?
Tell me what the gag is. I mean, so he brings a present. The boss is like, yeah, just set it down over there. And there's a million other presents. Is that the gag?
They made it in the shape of an L so that you could tell that every other present was the exact same shape. Everyone thought to get this same item for this boss because he's that hard to buy for, or he's that obvious to kiss his ass with a thing. Like, the boss doesn't give a shit and really doesn't give a shit because he's got 20 more of the exact same gift.
Why is it shaped like an L?
To let you know it's the same in every single... If it were just a box...
I know, but why the L? Why did people get that for him?
Think of this. If it were just a shirt box and everyone came in with a shirt box, that could look like 20 different things inside the box. You wrap a present that looks like this, that's a very specific item.
I get that.
No one knows what it is. It's just supposed to tell... Oh my God, Matt. The shape's got nothing to do with it. All that matters is
that's what I was asking. Is the shape significant? A specific reason that it's an L?
Just to make it unique, Matt. You fucking simple man.
You're being really mean on this episode.
Wait,
okay.
Name one other time. Also, I almost died before we started fucking rolling.
So, I love that the boss is trying to get him out of there. So he just picks up his phone. He's like, I'm on a call. Get me somebody. Get me anybody. And get me somebody while I'm waiting. Yeah. He's in this situation none of us want to be in, which is, I usually have my bonus by now. I haven't heard anything about my bonus. He asks his coworker, Sam McMurray. He's like, have you gotten your bonus yet? He's like, no, but I think it might have come in the mail today. My son said somebody showed up with something. Employers, I know you're listening.
We implore you.
If you don't give your workers a Christmas bonus, especially if they've worked there before in the past and they know a bonus is usually customary and they don't give you that bonus, you're giving them a pay cut. And that's shitty in itself. You should not do that. You should pay your workers more every year.
Yes.
But if you're going to give them a fucking pay cut, you need to tell them well in advance because they're planning their fucking budgets around this. This drives me insane.
Okay, but that shit trickles down too, Matt, because I feel the same way about the people we give a little bonus to.
But we do. We reliably give them bonuses.
I know, but I think we could do a better job at saying, hey, this is going to be right before Christmas because we're waiting on our bonus to give you your bonus. Oh. I think we could do a better job of, because they remember, oh, we get extra money around Christmas, but they probably don't always remember it's at the last minute. It's always at the last minute because we always have to wait for someone to give us ours.
Okay, so the people that we're giving bonuses to, they are not employees?
Well, they help us every year.
No, I know. They help us, and I never want to stop doing that, and I do feel bad about that, but I'm saying if you are literally an employee of somebody,
right. If it's going to show up on your W-2 at the end of the year that you made this much money, and part of that money is a bonus, you better be fucking giving them the bonus. At least match what they got the year before.
On the other hand, Clark, just bounce this check. Don't get a pool. You don't want a fucking pool. We have a pool. It's a burning money pit in the ground. But your life will be worse.
Oh my God. We love our son loves our pool.
Our autistic child loves swimming in the pool. That's why the pool's good.
Well, that's why when we moved to this house, we had one at the other house, and it was a must because of the kids' desire to swim. It's basically a big
Clark does not have this excuse.
Okay, you're right. You're right. But people who don't have a pool think that it's this like achievement and this thing that's going to really improve your life. And it's like, no, it's just one more thing you're not taking care of, right? That you look out and you're like, fuck. When your pool's having a good day, I can't really tell you that like, it's not pride. It's relief. I look over at the pool and I go, that's the right color. You're doing it, pool. And then on all the other days when it doesn't look like that, I'm like, I should be shot.
I'm a failure. Yeah.
I should be shot.
I should be arrested.
And buried in that pool, and then they can fill it with dirt.
I need to go to a debtor's prison.
I need that president
pool.
It doesn't matter. Yeah.
Clark is daydreaming about his pool, and he dreams about Mary Scorsese getting naked in the pool and being like, come fuck me, Clark. And he's like,
don't use the girl voice.
Oh, okay, I will. I'm coming into the pool. And then
stop, Matt. Ew.
And then little Ruby Sue walks in on Clark, and he's doing a Roman Roy onto his window. And then
what's a Roman Roy on his window?
Remember Roman in Succession gets the job for the first time at the office, and he lowers the blinds and then jacks off onto his window.
Oh,
that's what Clark was doing.
Okay.
And then Ruby Sue comes in, and she has a little heart to heart with him, and suddenly this becomes like a schmaltzy sentimental family movie. He's like, oh well, Santa Claus, he's coming. I just know he will come for you, little girl who I just met.
Now I've always felt like these scenes didn't need to be back to back. It does bother me that he's clearly must have an erection, right? Because he's thinking of this very horny thing that he's thinking of, and then record scratch, here's the little girl. But this movie's ahead of you. They handle that. This is the only time in any of the movies where he flips a chair around and sits on it backwards. That means Ruby Sue's got no way of coming wandering over there and sitting on his lap or anything. He has blocked it off. He makes it wholesome. And I appreciate that because I'm the kind of person who'd be thinking of his boner the whole time.
Yeah,
Thank you,
this
Clark.
is good. This is good. This is the way men, people with penises, this is the way to do it.
Don't have boners around children.
And if it happens,
hot tip,
hide them.
Right. If they're unrelated,
Look,
it can't be helped.
It was the middle of the night.
What are you gonna do?
But she's like, I Santa Claus coming.
Yeah, Santa Claus.
And but I like this kid. She's like, I like this place. Your house is always parked in the same place. Because she lives in an RV.
Right. Oh wait, let me help the people. This
becomes, RV. I guess, the other dilemma of the movie is I gotta give a good Christmas to this little girl, but I don't have my bonus.
Well, and that goes to your point of like, this is rich people problems. He's not destitute. He's still got money in the bank. He's even though he's going to be stretched thin because he already wrote that $7,500 check, he's still got a few hundred to throw to these kids because they immediately go to the Walmart shot, which I love, and buys like $300 of just dog food and then gets the stuff for the kids. I also like that they don't do the thing where they show you the stuff. And people, hot take, did anyone else ever fucking notice this? And can you name one other Christmas movie that does this? This Christmas movie doesn't go to Christmas. It ends it ends Christmas Eve night. They don't bother showing you Christmas morning. They don't need it. There's no Ruby Sue, look what I've gotten you. You know, they say they're going to give the kids a good Christmas. They don't bother showing you how they did that. I like it.
I do. When you said this Christmas movie doesn't go to Christmas, I stood up and applauded. I love, yes, it's great.
It's not the point. This Christmas movie couldn't be more about Christmas, but Christmas Day isn't the point.
But Christmas is more of a feeling.
No, Christmas Day is hardly ever the point of any Christmas. That's why they call it Christmas season. It's like, it's all the stress. It's all the preparation. It's the plans. It's the cooking you do before, the shopping you do before, the wrapping you do before, the looking at the tree and wondering what's under it. It's all the aggravation and headache that really is Christmas. Christmas Day is just
it's the denouement.
And then there's a tree in the house, and then it's that.
We were kind of talking about this on our last episode. Is Christmas? It's the beginning of the month, and we feel like it's already over. Christmas Christmas peaks around December. I don't know.
It peaks around Christmas party, holiday. If you've got a holiday party at work, that's the peak. It's all downhill after that.
Yeah. And Lacey on Christmas, December 25th at like 10:30 in the morning, Lacey snaps the fuck out of Christmas and starts taking the decorations down. It's like, get this shit out of here.
It's disgusting. People are like, no, Mardi Gras, y'all. It's coming. All you got to do is repurpose that tree. Purple and gold and green, y'all. And That's what they're like, Matt. And to them I say, bullshit. You're just trying to not take down your tree. I see you. Shitter's full.
Shitter is full. This was the line I remembered from the movie.
Shitter's full.
Tell us about what's happening now.
It's this music. Another gag that I don't think needs to happen, except for that this line absolutely must happen, is just Clark looking outside. Clark always notices the things that Randy does first, and that's because Game recognized Game. I say Randy. In the movie, he's Eddie. Clark is oblivious to everybody else, but because Eddie is specifically fucking up his vibes, he is messing up the picture perfectness. He's outside in his way too short robe with his socks on for some reason and his chest out and his disgusting RV, and he's emptying live human shit into the storm drain. Clark notices this before anyone else, and he's like, idiot outside in the bathrobe entering. Anyway,
he says like, oh, it's toxic. I hope nobody lights a match within 10 yards of that.
It's like, that's a storm drain or sewer or whatever, something I would never know.
Is this going to come back maybe later in the movie?
I don't know. And it glows green. It's clearly toxic. And then, of course, the posh neighbors see it and ew. And that's when he says, Merry Christmas, shitter's full, which is wonderful. Now, this is interesting. This movie manages to get away with the same gag twice, and it's funny both times. It is when, now, is this like a silent movie actress, Matt? Like this Mae Questel is Aunt Bethany. You can just look at her face.
Yeah, well,
look at this old picture of her.
Yes, no,
that has to be a silent movie.
No, not a silent actress. She was, but she's a fucking legend.
comedian.
She was the voice of Betty Boop.
Okay, she looks like Betty Boop.
Legend, also Olive Oil.
Oh wow! So
comedian.
a legend voice actress only, or I mean, because that face looks like she's been in movies.
More for voice, but also it wasn't live action stuff. Was variety show.
She looks quintessential 20s.
Yeah, she looks amazing.
I love it.
Yeah, and she's hilarious. Also, William Hickey is Uncle Lewis. These two show up. These two are so much better than the other old people.
They're fucking amazing, and it's like, you just know you're seeing legends on the screen. I feel like you got to know somebody to even get these people. Like, they dusted them off, and it's a truly talented people just can't help but steal a scene, and they do. I think they just do in every one that they're in. She is fucking adorable.
I love it. There are not that many ancient voice actors who are still around. I get like Frank Welker is still alive. Put fucking Frank Welker in live action movies. That's what I say. This is what you want.
Turn it on. She's at 11 the whole time, and it works. Anyway, they ask her to say the blessing, and so she goes into the Pledge of Allegiance. And because Randy Quaid's character is the same person he is in Independence Day, and I guess he might have even really gone to the military, honestly, he stands up and pledges allegiance to the flag, and they all do it, and it's precious.
Yeah, it happens a few times where the family will just go along with whatever crazy thing's happening. Yeah. Well,
it's just twice, and both time it's sweet.
Oh, but the drum roll is kind of that too.
Oh, right, fine. But that's like a slow clap. Someone starts drum rolling, everyone's going to start drum rolling. It's contagious.
Yeah. I
don't understand the turkey gag. I mean, it's just supposed to look like a horror movie. It's very effective. I guess this was a model. I mean, I guess they made. It's just like a horror puppet.
But what is supposed to have happened is just they cooked it too long?
Which doesn't make any sense. The outside would not look that delicious.
But that's why it's funny.
But then they all eat it, and it's like and it looks so good. My favorite parts, anytime you bring home a rotisserie chicken, or if there's a turkey, are the overly cooked skin parts where it basically turns into jerky, but it's still meaty.
Yeah.
And it's like you pull it off in shreds, and they all get to have turkey jerky, and I think that's lovely.
It is filmed.
Why are there grapes?
It is filmed like Alien or The Thing. The way it springs open.
They even do a sound effect that it probably is literally from a movie that is doing the same thing.
But they're eating, in silence.
You mentioned this is kind of a silent movie at times, or quiet.
It's quiet.
And this is a very intentional time when it is, because you're supposed to hear all the clinking and the people drinking their water and chewing and just trying to get through this meal in a polite way, even though half the shit on the table is gross.
But this is where I'm noticing, like, maybe if this guy had more experience directing comedy, that this would sing a little more, because funny stuff is happening. It's just like, it's not really popping. Then, Clark finally speaks and he's like, kids, I heard that Santa's sled was spotted near Antarctica or whatever. And I wrote down,
Clark?
it's sleigh, not sled. Okay. But,
of course you wrote
and
that
then
down.
like Clark I had to write that down.
Fucking English teacher Matt over here.
Actually,
the Brontosaurus was alive.
No, the Brontosaurus.
This is a callback just for you, man.
The Clark and Ellen have to go like clean up Uncle Lewis's mess. The dog. Yeah, the dog.
That's another thing, another oblivious Eddie thing. Eddie never cleans up his messes. That's why it's so fucking touching at the end when Eddie comes in clutch and does like a really selfless thing. But it would never occur to him to do woman's work. He sees the dog messing up something, or he sees mess doesn't register to him. He's not an inconvenience. Everywhere he goes, he is welcome in his own mind. So when they're on their hands and knees cleaning up after his disgusting dog, it would never occur to him to help with that.
It's like in The Office when in the third season, Ed Helms comes, Andy Bernard, and he's like more annoying than Michael Scott, and Michael doesn't like him and isn't responding to his antics when normally he seems like he should be responding. He's like, finally, somebody's behaving like me. Like, you're giving me back what I want. But he sees it in somebody else. He's like, oh, fuck you.
Exactly.
And now he's acting normal.
Right. So now Clark is actually helping with a mess, actually staying inside. It's like
actually supporting his wife.
Eddie is what makes all of the best gestures and sweet scenes happen after Eddie gets there. And that was a great comparison, because Eddie is what makes Clark a good family man.
He's not the cousin you want, but he's the cousin you need.
That's right. And I love the little detail of him immediately in his stupid white turtleneck that's see-through, and you can see his nipples, and then he's got the dickie on, the mock turtleneck, but it's black, so it perfectly goes in between his nipples and just showcases his nipples. And the first thing he does is touch the very complicated, hard to put together Christmas decoration where a candle uses its heat to make it spin, and he just touches it and it is decimated. And the rest of the scene, it's Clark trying to put it back together, which is the theme of the movie. It's Clark trying to pick up after Eddie,
and it never acknowledges that I just fucked that up. Whenever people stay with us, I get very self-conscious, because suddenly they're around me a lot, and what they learn about me is like I'm quiet.
Yes.
I'm serious. I'm not fun, and I do a lot of chores.
You're very regimented.
Yes, I'm very regimented.
You have lots of things to check off your list every single day, and you need your downtime.
And I don't like to be looked at while I'm doing it.
Or helped, or just you don't like. Those are not moments for discussion. If I've got something I need to talk to you about, I don't go do it while you're washing the dishes. That's podcast time for you. I know that. Like, the only thing that makes the dishes something you tolerate is that you get to listen to something while you're doing it.
Yeah, you want these dishes to get done. Yeah.
You're not allowed to talk to Matt when he's doing
his quiet time.
Chores.
I always call myself Daddy.
Yeah, you do.
The
Frad pulls a cat.
The Christmas tree lights, they're unplugged, and the Clark plugs them in, and then they electrify the cat. They electrify Aunt Bethany's cat. Were people named Bethany in the 1900s? Yeah.
I love that her name's Aunt Beth. Oh, and because she's childlike, so they give her a child name.
But there's toxic gas coming from the sewer, and is this what makes because like Uncle Lewis, he goes and he lights his stogie, and it makes the Christmas tree explode. But does it explode because of the gas? Why does the Christmas tree explode?
The cat ate the lights and shorted the string of lights. That's why it's important that Snot is drinking the water out of the tree. Famously, if you take water out of a live tree, it dries out within a day and just starts shedding. So when you're looking under the tree and the cat is fucking with the lights, you see piles of needles everywhere. Mm-hmm. Christmas tree needles. So this is basically just a big green stick at this point, and the cat's chewed through just enough of the string light wire for when the electric current goes back through it, it creates a spark, which which explodes the tree that was just kindling at that point.
That was a great lesson. Okay.
Okay.
A delivery boy shows up. He's like, oh, I'm here.
No,
mister."
you're right. Nope. The cat just electrocutes itself under the chair. Separate event. The tree still matters, but it does not go up in flames until Uncle lights a cigar and then himself on fire. A stogie. Sorry about that. Nope. I mixed the two tree things together. How could I do that? It's so obvious.
Kind of dumb.
And I keep waiting for the squirrel to come out of the tree, and I forget it's the second tree. Yeah.
A lot of strands you have to keep track of in this movie.
It's too many gags, honestly. I don't need all of them. I don't need the squirrel.
Delivery boy shows up. He's got an envelope just for Mr. Griswold. Mr. Griswold opens it. He's like, family, gather around to watch me. Everything has to be a ceremony.
Everything's a fucking...
Eddie, I love you. Uncle, whatever. Gonna fly you in after I open this bonus check.
All forgiven. Everything's great.
Again, do this by yourself,
Just do it
Clark.
by yourself, man.
And, but yeah, it's not a bonus check. It's a membership in the Jelly of the Month Club.
Which is the gift that gives all year long. A jar of jelly.
And yeah, I think this is where Clark says, well, I already wrote the check for the deposit of the pool, $7,500. Jesus Christ. So you don't have the money in your account to cover that? So just let it bounce. Or, hey, bank, please do cancel that check.
Matt, it's in order for him to get the pool done in time for summer, that he has to make sure they put the pool in the ground as soon as the snow thaws.
I got it.
So he had to put down the deposit.
Well, he didn't have to.
You can't Matt, that's not a solution. You don't let the check bounce because, I'll just let the bank know, hey, that's going to bounce. It's the relationship you're fucking over with the vendor that matters, Matt. Do you think there's just a bunch of pool people in Chicago?
And now let the pool never be built. You don't want a pool.
Oh my God. He doesn't know that. Yep.
So then Clark, has one of his freakouts and Chevy Chase is good at these little mild-mannered freakouts, but in the middle of the freakout, he's like, I wish my boss were here right in front of me so I could give him the business. And Eddie takes that literally.
He's got the gift of gab.
But it's also like he has not been playing pen up like this. It's not like, I don't know. This doesn't totally track with how the character's been the rest of the movie. But yeah, he goes nuts. He gets out a chainsaw. The madcap score returns. It's very weird. And then, Russ goes up to his dad and he's like, Dad, I've been thinking. And Chevy Chase turns around with the chainsaw. And he's like, "Arr!" And then the kid runs away.
We both do a great chainsaw impression.
He also, he saws off the top of the staircase. What does he call a newel post?
Who knew?
I don't
Yule
know.
log
But
and a newel post.
It's an It's a Wonderful Life reference. And I guess that because they were watching It's a Wonderful Life earlier, and it's like, so he's supposed to be like George Bailey in this movie. He needs to
Matt,
realize.
Can you move on?
Well,
No.
squirrel pops out of the tree.
Yeah, it does.
And it's running all over the house, and then everybody's reacting. Oh my God, there's a squirrel. We got to get it. We got to get it. Julia Louis-Dreyfuss comes over to give Clark a piece of her mind.
Squirrel
but
takes
instead,
care of
she
her.
gets attacked by the squirrel. So she returns home, punches her husband in the face.
She gets attacked by a dog. Let's just make it clear. The dog is chasing the squirrel. The squirrel scares her. It's the fucking Rottweiler that fucks her all up like that.
Okay.
Okay, just so you know, she doesn't go home completely to shreds because a squirrel got on her.
I might be more disturbed by the squirrel.
I mean, you're disturbed by the squirrel, but then you're injured by the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because she had sent her husband over, you go punch him. He's like, well, I can't do that. It's not in my nature. I do computer stuff, not hand stuff. So she goes home and she's been attacked by a dog and she socks her husband in the face.
Shows him how to be a man.
He wasn't sponge worthy.
I have too many head accessories. I've gone over the top, and I just want to let the audience know I apologize.
Eddie kidnaps the boss. He comes in with the boss and he's like, you stole my boss? Eddie,
You took me
you
literally
numbskull.
and not figuratively.
But then
saves the fucking day.
Clark goes into like a Jimmy Stewart monologue. He's like, oh, Mr. Boss, you
geez, gosh.
hard-working folk depend on their bonus and you stiff me? Oh, doggone it. Be ashamed of yourself.
And this is the moment when all the dads in the room do relate to Clark. Clark's always acting above it all, living this picturesque thing. He doesn't realize while he's doing that, he's alienating all the other regular people around him. This is why people like this are exhausting. Like, not only are you having standards that you want us to all live up to, you're not someone I can really relate to because you're spending so much time pretending you have it all. We don't. We all know we don't have it all. We all know we're fuck ups. We all know we didn't give you this as a child. Why would we want to be watching you strive to this kind of level of daddiness? But now he's down on his luck. He's honest about what's going on. He's honest about his money troubles. He doesn't have it all. This house, this beautiful wife. It's just normal shit, just like everybody else. And he gets everybody on his side for the first time in the whole movie.
Yes. And then the boss, the nice rich boss, he's like, you've melted my heart. I will give you, hey, what did you have last year? You can have that bonus plus 20%.
Which won't even cover the damage the dog did to the fucking
Or
house.
the insufficient funds fees. Like, he's already ruined his employees' lives.
Yeah.
Again, people, your company does not care about you.
Excuse me. Also, there's nothing to hold him to doing this for everyone.
Oh, that's
he just
true.
does it for Clark.
Or even, hey, Mr. Murray, still haven't gotten that bonus check that you promised me under duress.
Right.
Oh, yeah, about that. I don't remember that.
I was in shock.
But yeah, you're fucking Clark. I've worked for you for 17 years.
It's a long time.
If you work for a company for 17 years, they don't respect that. They think you're an idiot because if you were a good employee, if you were good at what you do,
You'd
either have advanced or you'd go work for another company. That's the only way you get a raise is by quitting your job and going to get a different job. Your company doesn't care about you. They're working actively right at this moment to eliminate your job. They hate you.
Might as well be the coffee machine.
Yeah. Merry Christmas.
All right. SWAT team arrives. I don't need that. I don't need all this extra bullshit.
I love it.
Fine.
Because they destroy everything. They're going to shoot everybody.
I do love that they tell her to freeze. And so for whatever reason, Ellen's hand was on Clark's junk and she just keeps it there. He doesn't get an erection too. Good for him. Control. I mean, that scene had to be shot.
Mm-hmm.
Did he wear a cup? Like, how do you make sure not to get erect while someone's just holding his dick for an entire scene? Maybe he's old.
Beverly D'Angelo in the oral history said she improv'd that.
Oh, okay. I love it. And then shake a hand and then put it back. He doesn't press charges. I never noticed this until this watching, but they all start to like kind of have a little party and celebrate. I never noticed the little party. I also never noticed the entire SWAT team stays and has a drink and like socializes.
Yeah, they don't have anywhere else to go.
So they're staying up really late. I don't think Christmas morning even matters to these people. I think they're just this is it. This is what all of our presents have been on fire. Like this is Christmas. Let's just enjoy this. Clark's getting a pool. And then this is the second gag where Bethany then starts singing something patriotic.
Because Uncle Louis drops another stogie, and this time it makes the sewage gas explode. And then the reindeer statues go up in the sky and look like they're Santa flying through the air. And there's explosions in the sky. Also Santa, very important correction. And Aunt Bethany is like, well, it's the 4th of July. So she starts singing in the rocket's red glare. Everybody joins in, puts their hands over their hearts.
It's moving.
It is.
There's something very sweet about it.
And Randy Quaid gives the exact same salute he does in Independence Day. And
it's over.
Then the end comes up and then one of the lights bursts out and apparently
it's that time.
But Clark reacts to the cartoon that he can see in the sky and then that's the end of the movie.
No, I never noticed that.